Hi, my name is Tyree White. I'll be conducting uh, a demonstration and an explanation of how to properly conduct a deadlift. The topics of discussion will consist of knowledge of results. So we need to determine what's supposed to happen versus what's going to happen. Also, we will discuss knowledge of performance, what actually happened, and that type of augmented feedback that's necessary to allow the pupil or student to properly conduct a conventional deadlift. So the best way to conduct this type of training or instruction, should I say, is the use of observational learning. So attention. So trying to get that person's attention, have a short span so that information is going to their short-term memory and will eventually end up in their long-term memory through practice and repetition. Retention. That information will be retained if that movement is not overly complicated. Depending on the comprehension of the person that's being taught that movement, that'll be retained either quicker or after a variety of practices. Reproduction, seeing that that person or that student can mimic the movement in a proper manner. And motivation, me being an instructor, me being a coach, trainer, I'm overly motivated about fitness in general. So this is one typical movement that I believe is essential to anyone who wants to get into functional fitness, or the popular term is CrossFit. Okay. So additionally, what I'm going to go over in the process of teaching the deadlift is some of the common mistakes that you would notice for any person that's doing a conventional deadlift, no matter if it's an experienced individual or if it's a novice individual as well. These errors are pretty typical, and you'll see it in the gym, you'll see it in any type of environment where deadlifts are being conducted, and it's just certain things that you need to look out for once you're performing this deadlift, because it can potentially cause mild injury or up to serious injury. I'm a firm believer, and I have my experience in deadlifting more weight than I'm supposed to and having an extreme back injury, and I couldn't even tie my shoes. So definitely full of experience about how to properly deadlift. So over the years, I've developed my technique and my lifting style that works best for me and my anatomy, and I'm going to illustrate that in this video. So upon setting up to the bar, with your proper setup, the first thing you want to do is get your feet shoulder width apart. Pretty much like use your shoelaces to identify the middle of your foot placement on the bar. Okay. So as you approach the bar, just pretty much you're gonna hinge down versus a sit. So the difference is hinging is this way, squatting is this way. So you want to avoid squatting. But this is a common mistake that you'll see in the gym. So once you approach the bar, and once my hips drop this way, this now becomes a squat. My hips are too low. What you want your hips to be above your knee, but below your shoulders. So starting position will look like this. This is your starting position prior to lifting the bar, okay? The next common mistake that you will see is a rounded back. So in that same starting position, once that person begins to pull the weight, my hips come up way too far. There's no fluidity in the movement. So as I'm lifting, my hips are way too far, and I already feel that in my back, okay? So you want to hips above your knees, but below your shoulders, and forward. You're gonna pretty much stand up, back down. So look out for that. If you see If your back is being rounded, then that means the weight is probably too heavy, for one, and your technique is not as good as it potentially can be. Okay? Next observation and common mistake you see with deadlifting is a swaying bar. What that means is the bar is swaying back and forth as you're lifting. So this is the improper way to do a deadlift. So you can see the bar is not close to my body. So that is going to cause injury also. That means that your lats, these huge muscles in your back, they're not engaged at all. So you have to engage that muscle to prevent the bar from swinging back and forth. To do that, a simple way to do that is just to pinch the shoulder blade slightly. So if I'm standing here, normal, it's a slight pinch. And that will contract and engage your lats muscles, which will prevent that bar from swinging. So the proper way, once my lats are engaged, slight pinch, now that bar doesn't move at all. It just goes vertical, up and down, and the bar is pretty much close to my shins, and it ends at my thighs. It's just a vertical lift, up and down. So that's another common mistake that you see in the gym when conventional deadlifts are being performed. So jerking the bar is another common mistake. Okay, so jerking the bar, meaning that my lats are not tight, and I'm using my arms essentially just to try to pull the weight up, which is essentially going to destroy my lower back. So this is what a jerk would look like. So there's no power in any part of my body besides my arms. My back is not tight or anything. So if I engage my back, if I engage my lats and keep my hips in my position where they're supposed to be, and all you're gonna do is grab tension on the bar. You're just gonna grab the bar really tight. You can grab it just a little bit. You hear that shaking? That just to let you know that I'm grabbing the bar and I'm ready to lift. Grab it really tight, engage your lats, and it's a stand up. All right. The last common mistake that I'm going to go over is overextending at the conclusion of the lift. What that means is you're hyperextending at the top of your lift, which is straining your lower back and can cause serious damage. Okay, so sometimes you in the gym, you'll see people doing deadlifts, and this is what they look like when they're overextending their position. That essentially is the wrong answer. To alleviate that issue from happening, what you're going to do is tighten your glutes, tighten your lats, and push your hips forward. Okay? So, to do that, I'm going to set myself, grab the bar really tight, add a little tension, engage my lats, stand straight up, glutes are engaged, lats are engaged, hips are forward, and straight vertical line on the descent. Okay? So just to reiterate some of the 5 mistakes that you'll see doing the conventional deadlift. The hips are way too low. Like I said, what that means is your hips are below your knees, and that eventually turns into a squat position versus a conventional deadlift position. Around the back, that your hips come up way too fast, and your shoulders and your hips are pretty much in line with each other. Okay? Swaying the bar, that means you don't have any control over the bar. That means your lats are not engaged, and you're not allowing the bar to become vertical and stay in line with your shins, your knees, and your thighs. Okay? Jerking the bar, you didn't provide any tension to the bar itself. You didn't engage your lats. So you're using majority of your arm motion to get the bar up. Okay? The last common mistake that I discussed was overextending. So at the conclusion of the lift, you're bending your back extremely too far. You're not engaging your glutes, and you're pushing your hips way too forward, which makes your back bend overextension. okay? So the proper way to, I'm going to demonstrate the proper way to conduct a conventional deadlift. So first things first, foot placement. Use your shoestrings as guides. That should be the center of the bar. Arms right outside of your knees, your feet are shoulder width apart. And once I get set, my hips are going to come down, but not to the point where I'm squatting. Just above my knees, right below my shoulders. Once I'm ready to lift, I'm going to pinch my back, which is engaging my lats. Once I lift, I'm going to stand straight up, keeping the bar close to my body, and I'm not going to extend. It's just stand up and engage in my glutes. I push my hips forward, and that is one repetition complete. So, at normal cadence, this movement would go as follows. That is the proper way to conduct a conventional deadlift. And being a fan of Olympic style lifting, this is the baseline for Olympic style lifters when you're talking about doing a power snatch or a squat clean or power clean or just a clean in general, or any way to get weight off the ground properly. This is the proper way to do it. So the more repetitions that there are, the more practice that goes into it, the more efficient that you will become. So once I have a pupil who has completed like the typical practice, the best course of action to give them feedback is knowledge of performance, showing them exactly how their body look using the video of some sort to say, allow them to teach back what do they see once they conducted that lift. So how was your foot position? Was your hips too high or too low? How was your shoulders? Just pretty much having them reiterate everything that we've done up in this course. So in that solid motion, that's pretty much one fluid motion, which is relevant to proprioception. Okay, so just one fluid motion, and it's all simultaneous. So using, in this particular movement, in my opinion, going back to the observational learning style, is to allow people to see what mistakes will happen typically that you see in the everyday gym, how to notice them and how to correct them, and ensuring that they retain and mimic that exercise throughout their training. And in doing so, getting that memory into the short term, that memory will turn into long term as they continue to train and they start moving on to other additional movements. That conducts my presentation in reference to how to properly conduct a deadlift. My name is Tyree White. Have a good day.